Welcome to the Atlanteans, a podcast about Warmachine and the Iron Kingdoms, created by the Hampton Roads Atlantean gaming community. And now to our hosts. Welcome to episode 18 of the Atlanteans. Episode 17 of the Atlanteans. This is Jay. How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you for tuning in. We are coming up on our 1 year anniversary. I believe the next cast will be in episode 18. That's why I was thinking about it will be our next cast. With me today is Joe. How you doing, Joe?
Good, Jay. Happy to be back.
Yep.
Good to be back at it. Tonight I'm painting Brine Blood Marauders. So I did the flesh with the airbrush. That's easy. I did the cloaks and the pants and stuff. That's easy. And now I'm just working through all the infinite bits and bobs.
All the highlighting the flesh and the individual components on them and stuff.
Well, yeah, everybody's got a buckle, and they've got a belt, and they've got a sash, and they might have a gauntlet or two, and they've got hair and barnacles, and some guys have bumps on their shoulders, and some of them don't. And this guy has a net full of fish.
So one thing I will say about the Shadow and Scum models, having painted a bunch of not Brine Bloods but other new Mark IV resin stuff that's complex like that. The Shadow and Scum models are actually pretty simple comparatively, even though they're a nightmare to assemble.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this. A billion pieces, no instructions. Yep.
And lots of seam lines where the Cadre and the Signar guys were fit together and sort of hid the seams and stuff very well. This kit doesn't do that at all, and you basically have to gap fill and file and. I used a whole bottle of sprue goo to cover every seam and line across both halves of the Shadow and Scum kit.
Yeah, then Richard was like, well, you put mine together, and you were like, how well do you want them done?
Yeah.
We should bring JD in.
Yeah, all right. So, unfortunately, Alec can't join us, and he'll be hopefully join us later, but at the moment he's not with us. But luckily today we have a special guest, JD. JD's been mentioned many times in the cast. He's our resident Cryx player, and he also has played Orgoth. How are you doing tonight, JD?
Great, Jay. Thank you very much for having me tonight.
Yeah, so sorry we didn't get to in the conversation earlier.
No, it's all good. I was just gonna say, basically, it sounds like these troll models are very similar to Mark I trolls.
Yeah, they have they have pouches.
Definitely.
They have different colored metal on them. The Lakabesh brothers, each one of them has different clothing on them, so it's not like you're just painting the same clothing details. Yep. One has a jacket on, two of them have pants that are ripped up, but the other one has perfect pristine pants. One is not wearing a jacket and is basically bare chested, and the other one's wearing a vest. So each one has a different amount of skin detail and element detail, but it's not here's 1,000 different details on each model, and they're all different.
Yeah, that's how these these guys feel. And it's cool. I want some models like that, but not my basic infantry that I might have to paint 4 units of.
Yeah, I think I have at some point for the little bit of Troll Bloods that I'm working on, I will probably do 1 unit of Marauders to get the army up to 75 points or something. And I want to paint the unit that has the diving helmet on one of the guys.
Oh, that guy's sweet. I didn't cut his head off.
Yeah,
I wanted to keep him as he was.
I'll buy that specific unit, but I'm not painting more than 1 unit.
Yeah, it's probably fair.
Yeah. So, AMA. There was an AMA today. On wargames.com, which is an interesting place for it to go. Wargamer.com. It's a new Bella Lost Souls style community group that's been started in private, and SFG seems to have jumped in head first.
Nice.
What of the stuff that you saw that you liked?
Oh, JD.
Well, I was obviously a big fan of the Cryx Colossal. Being able to finally see it. I mean, we had an idea of it was going to be a burrowing when the leak came out a few months ago, but being able to actually see the model, I guess that's probably about as big as the Necrofactorum.
It's really funny how it was put in. So I don't know if you've looked at the picture very closely, but there's like a little infantry guy on it next to its base.
Yes.
So that infantry guy is a preview of the ranged infantry marked unit from Old Umbry. And so Matt posted it as, I'm working on this Old Umbry guy. Check him out. And then the Colossal's just sitting behind him in frame.
Epic.
And then there's two other guys in the background that are blurred out that are probably other guys from this unit from Old Umbry.
Got it.
Do you know what this Cryx Colossal's called?
There is a name.
Recall.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. Yeah, I don't recall whatsoever.
Well, we'll just call it the Cryx.
The digger worm. I think it. I looked at the model a lot closer, and it is pretty sweet. It is a really, really nice model.
Yeah, I really liked it. It looks like the Moloch, which I love.
Oh yeah, it like straight up is a machine Moloch, effectively.
Yeah, when I heard the concept for this, I was like, how is that going to look as a Colossal? And the answer is awesome.
Like, I actually saw someone post earlier today. They were just like, I know this isn't canon, but I'm going to sit here and believe that this is basically Cankerworm after he ate a ton of Jack.
I saw that as well.
Yes.
I saw that as well. That's
full
hilarious.
On full.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's at least the rules that were dropped. I mean, it's going to be a really good gun platform. It kind of has like a ton of guns. And
that's good. Cryx doesn't really have that, right? Like,
not a big one, no. Obviously, the lights have a gun, and the heavies can have one gun, really. But you definitely can't kind of maximize all the guns.
No Orgoth or Wintercorp gun platform jacks.
No. And the other little gimmick of it is it can burrow, and then it creates a hole, and then a unit can basically jump into that hole and then pop up where this Colossal is like later.
It's gonna be so cool.
Interesting idea. We're gonna just have to see how that works exactly, and if that's how the actual rules shake out. I mean, you'll say that those are all.
Yeah, it feels like the kind of thing that they might tweak quite a bit to get it right. You know,
I think it would be. I think it would be cool if like they use that mechanic, but it was like an ambush mechanic, and so the unit didn't start on the table, and then when the jack popped up, you could deploy it from where the Colossal popped up from the hole.
I mean, I would like that better.
As like an ambush mechanic.
The other side of a unit jumping in the hole was like if the Colossal died before the unit came out, the unit was gone as well. So it's definitely a risk reward kind of mechanic. So that's why I was like, not totally sure how that's going to work. But again, just having a really good gun platform that you can just kind of focus to cheaply, and then be able to just rain a bunch of things out there. Definitely sounds like something that could be useful.
That's cool.
For sure. Maybe it'll like some lists play big right, and it feels like it like slots into that slot very nicely, perhaps.
Sure. Obviously this will be a lot more points than 20 points, but it'll be very similar.
So I don't want to talk a ton about the AMA. I think that the one thing I want to mention that I think is weird, and to sort of slot in with the big pig sort of mechanic. So, Old Umbry is going to be the first army that's a warlock, hordes-driven army that'll have warcaster cadre models. Cadre that could possibly lead it if the cadres work the same. And so there was a bunch of questions asked about this at the AMA, and they spoiled something, which is kind of interesting. So instead of having when a faction that is a warlock-led faction or a warcaster-led faction has the ability to take cadres of the other side, instead of those cadre being new leaders that they can take in the army, those models are going to get alternate rules that turn them into journeyman warlocks in a la Magnus and Invictus, or so like Old Umbry will be able to take Vilcool as a journeyman warlock with a fixed spell list, and Razor, for example. Or they'll be able to take and then all the other cadre models that worked under her will still be available to the army. But you won't be able to take her as your leader. You'll take her as like effectively a journeyman warcaster with her character jack.
Oh, wait. So will this happen to Baga Waga?
Or
is it because he's Fury, he'll be okay?
So
he won't be transformed.
If the next troll army is a Warmachine faction, which we already know it's not because they showed off a light warbeast today, a concept art of a light warbeast today. Then he would get that treatment. So I think the next army that it'll matter for is probably the next Orgoth army, because it's rumored the next Orgoth army is going to be a Hordes army.
Nice.
Got it.
So the cadre casters for the current Orgoth will then be able to play with them as journeymen. The Vilkul and the Annihilator Cadre caster, I forget what her name is, I believe the first two that are getting this treatment. And it was also confirmed that Yana is going to be a warlock in Old Umbry. They're giving her warlock rules.
I mean,
what if they could change anything else? Do you think it's just going to be the same thing? Like all her abilities, all her spells are going to...
I think they might... They'll probably tweak her spell list a little bit. I think... probably. I mean, some of the stuff will be there, but like anything that refers to Warjack or refers to, they'll probably they'll probably change the spell. So like they did that with Old Witch. So Old Witch has a Warmachine version. Old Witch 2 has a Warmachine version and a Hordes version, and the Hordes version had a slightly different spell list than the Warmachine one. Their feats were the same, and the way her main ability worked was the same, but the things they did were a little different. So there was sort of a tweaked version. I hope her feat stays the same, because her feat is like designed for the army. For it doesn't play very well with Warmachine, but it's like straight up designed for Old Umbry.
Yeah, no, 100%. It definitely would help out if you're bringing in a lot more of the units that are.
And they showed off some other. They showed off a bunch of Old Umbry models today, which are interesting. So that like were creature thing that I thought was the other character beast, it's actually one of the transformed solos. I'm not sure if it's the lesser or the greater form, because they wouldn't tell if it was on a 40 or 50 millimeter base. But we know that there's a lesser and a greater form of both a wolf and a bear transformation.
Got it.
I saw the feral, I think. I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, the bird head and wings. There's supposedly a pig head as well, so you can give it a pig head and wings.
Oh man, my wife would love that. She's all about it. Probably should buy them just for that reason, right?
Oh, I think Old Umbry is going to be so much fun to paint, and because it's going to be like Circle, but it's going to have like layers of Khador theming and the wild Kosaki kind of stuff from old Khador.
Yep.
I think
very old witchy kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It supposedly, and this is what they were saying is that there's going to be a couple of old Khador army characters that are going to be mixed into Old Umbry at some point in the future. So it's not just old. So that we know that. Old Witch's like human, her like adopted sister is the journeyman warcaster for the faction. Like her. I mean, she's a god, but sort of the girl it's possibly that's Sorcia's daughter. We don't know that for sure. We know that she's alive from the fluff recently. Is that Sorcia and Vlad had a daughter as well as a son. The son went through the portal, and the daughter
stayed.
Yeah, it's in the Strange Light fluff.
Got it.
So
very cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to them. I don't know. It's hard. I spend this whole year painting all these trolls, and then those guys come out, and you just know they're going to be sweet, right?
Yeah.
Like you know the models are going to be awesome to paint.
Yep. I'm a little sticker shocked about how much the army's probably going to cost to be fully playable and have all the options.
Oh, is it going to be expensive?
Like $850 ish.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I should say that, but that's about what any army costs right now.
Yeah,
so.
you need the command cadre. You need two of the heavy the battle group box. You need probably one or two of the main army expansion. You'll probably need, I think it's 2 of the main army expansion and 1 of the second army expansion with a couple of things added on. And then you'll probably need 1 or 2 of the 80 mil solo. So
yep.
Yeah, it probably.
I mean,
Alec was estimating $850 for Gravediggers is what it'll cost him to get everything he wants. And I went in and based upon what was in the Gravediggers boxes and what I think is coming for the army, what it will probably cost, and it'll be about $800 to $850, depending on, it could be a little cheaper if I bought everything from Discount Games, but I like to support my local store, so yeah.
Yeah. No, that's about how much it costs to get any full army.
Yeah. And I'm sure I've spent that much or more on Winter Corp, but Winter Corp I was able to spread it over time, both because they were slow releasing things, and as the cadres came out, they've come out sporadically instead of everything all at once, like some of the more recent armies have. Like
you probably do some of that with this too, right? You don't need full FA when everything comes out.
No, I'm not. There's no way I'm dropping $850 in 3 months. That's not happening.
Fair.
Between now and the end of the year, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, so biggest challenge for me is that it's a horde army, and I'm more of a Warmachine caster, Warmachine player. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if I can adapt to that, the hordes feel.
Yeah,
all right. Makes sense.
I've never really played a Warmachine army, so I don't have any plans to do that either.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm the other way. I mean, I've played hordes armies, but they've never really clicked with me. All right.
You say that. I mean,
I played Scorn a lot, and it's fun, and I've done well with Grimkin, and I've played games.
I'm about to say the Grimkin games that we've had in the past were definitely some of the most memorable to me.
Yeah. But like, I never played Dreamer, for example. That was very beast heavy. I was playing beast support with infantry primarily.
Sure.
Or I was playing the Child, which is basically my army wants to jump down your caster's throat. So
lots of war beasts.
Yeah, lots of war beasts, but like packed together in one spot.
True.
Yeah. All right.
In the pack.
Is there anything else you guys want to get to before we talk about our main topic for the night?
Get after it.
All right. So JD is our local Necrofactorum player. There's supposedly a bunch more that Taylor keeps mentioning that. I think Ross is one of them, his co-host, but I don't know who the rest of them are.
Yeah.
He's like mentioned as many as 5 in our local meta, and I'm like, huh? Sure.
Yeah.
I think Tony has them.
Yeah, I guess. Tony has everything, though, so.
Sure.
Anyhow, so.
Yeah. So, JD, so let's talk about Necrofactorum. Do you want to talk about the newest stuff first? Do you want to go over a little bit about how the army plays? What's important for us to know about Necrofactorum?
Yeah, we'll go over a little bit about kind of how the army plays, especially the kind of play style I like.
Okay.
Basically, Necrofactorum is the new Cryx.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting because they decided to not necessarily go with all the tricks and kind of gimmicks that old Cryx was really known for. And instead gave us really good jacks, specifically a really good heavy jack.
Yeah.
Honestly, just some really good units.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting. Like, original Cryx, it was all about Banes, or you're going.
Are we talking Slayer spam style Jack armies like that, or?
I mean, it did have a heyday for a little bit, but even that was the fact that you could bring like 7 of them.
Yeah.
And it was the cheapest version. It was the Slayer with like 2 fists. And, you're good to go. Where now, for a similar amount of points as the base Slayer, you now get a shield, base armor +1, an axe that is 2-inch reach, grievous wounds, POW 18. Like POW 18 is a dream for any original Cryx player.
Oh yeah.
And when you look at the base stats of this thing, it just comes with breakthrough naturally, which
hyper aggressive
is
naturally, right?
yes,
Like
it comes with aggressive, so it's getting free charges.
or aggressive.
So
dumb.
Yeah, and the fact that it gets unbreakable is, I don't know, it's just absolutely incredible. The heavy chassis is, I think, where pretty much everybody kind of needs to start, because it's just something that Cryx never really had. He sometimes had some gimmicks when it came to some of the crab jacks. When he had Karchev running a bunch of the Viscerators and being able to go in and just crit shred things to death was kind of neat and gimmicky. But I personally never had a chance to play just like a lot of just jacks and be happy with them. So having that as an option now is something that I've been enjoying immensely since this faction has dropped. So yeah, I'm a big fan.
So instantaneously, so first things first, you're a new player, you pick the caster you like, you buy 4 heavy jacks, and you're ready to go, right?
I mean, I've won.
But I do agree with JD. It's like the meat of the army.
Oh
right?
yeah, totally.
It's not. I mean, for me, Cryx was like Satixus spam or like Bane spam, and like there is Mechanothrall spam, but I think it's actually like even Sub-Zero doesn't always play that way, and so.
I still
like you
feel
see a pretty strong core in a lot of these armies. It's like
I still feel like the thralls are the core of the army, at least from my games playing against JD. The jacks always have a presence, and you always see 2, 3, 4 heavies, or 2 heavies and a character heavy. But the army doesn't function without the thralls, I don't think.
I definitely agree. Yeah, we should talk about the thralls for sure. Yeah.
So, all right, so we're going to go into the Thrall Swarms. Basically, they replaced the old Mechanothralls.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie, when they first dropped them, I thought they were trash.
You did.
I did.
I also did, and was definitely wrong.
Not happy with them at all. I honestly thought Sub-Zero's feat was the worst in the game.
Yep.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. And then you played Brad Park. He beat you soundly and taught you the way.
I played Brad Park once. I got a chance to play in a mirror versus him, and he not only showed me, but he definitely we discussed it afterwards, and definitely learned the errors of my way. Because like when you put them up against something like, in my mind, so Sub-Zero drops in a unit of Mechanothrall Swarm.
Yep.
That's very similar to old Goreshade 1 feat, which was he drops in a unit of Bane Thralls.
Right.
In my mind, Bane Thralls beat Mechanothralls 10 times out of 10. Period. In the story.
All day, every day. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed like a bad version of that, right?
Correct. And then
that feat wasn't that good. Like,
well, yeah. Oh, I enjoyed it, but yes, it was a bit difficult. But then you start realizing a few things. One, Banes are Mat 6 base. That's a problem. That's a big problem. If you're not hitting things, it doesn't matter if you've got Weapon Master on your weapon. Great. These things are POW 11s, but they come with Dark Shroud, so really they're POW 13 Weapon Masters. Awesome. But you gotta hit. If you can't hit, what's the point? So instead, you now have Mechanothrall Swarms, which are technically Mat 5s, and they're technically POW 10s. Which sounds bad.
Oh, man.
When you look at it, that's just a really bad stat line. Yeah, but they have something called Gang, and there's 5 of them, and they're all over the place. So they're really Mat 7s, and they're really POW 12s. And they don't just have
2
one.
initials, right?
They have 2 initials.
Yeah.
So they have 2 attacks that they can throw in to anybody at base Mat 7 and base POW 12. And you know what basically kills things in this game? POW 12s. Casters die to POW 12s. Jacks
heavy
can die to
war
POW
jacks. die to PAL 12s.
Especially if you get those PAL 12s, let's just say up to PAL 14s or even 16s, if you
Yeah.
have things like Dark Shroud, Scything Touch, a number
Brink
of
of
ways that you
Death,
can
The Furies.
Calamity.
Death.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then you start realizing these quasi cheap models are that. And then the cherry on top of all of this is the fact that one, the unit has tough naturally,
Yep.
and two, the unit has vengeance.
Yeah.
That those two things alone just make the units just incredible. So for 6 points, you get these 5 models that have all this stuff with them. And then
And they're
to
speed
top it,
6, is that right?
correct, their speed 6. Their def and armor is bad. They die to anything as long as they hit them. Their defense 12, arm 13. So they're going to be dying to kind of a swath of things. To add one more layer of why Mechanothralls are good is if you bring a single solo, which is 3 points, you can give your Mechanothralls Shield Guard.
That's the
And-
Scarlock Lieutenant.
Correct. So Scarlock Lieutenant, which is 3 points, which is the cheapest solo in the entire faction. It gives that unit, any unit of Mechanothrall Swarm within 10 inches of it, Shield Guard.
And this JD is this, to me, this is like the faction's main anti-ranged mechanic.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
It's 100%. Most other factions have a rack card, a rack spell that gives them their anti-range. This unit plus the solo is that thing. We really don't have a spell. We do technically have a spell, but the spell just gives you blast resistance and rise, which is nothing like, it's really not going to keep you alive.
Yeah, it's great if you're a
so-
Mechanothrall, but
Correct.
doesn't help
Yep.
anybody else.
Correct. And so, yeah, I mean, those two things right there, I think, are probably at the top of the list when you're looking at the Necrofactorum faction.
So, but I mean, we did say that they have a really lowish defense, a pretty low armor.
Yep. Yep.
So hit them with a round of blasts or something from a Winter Corp, Borisuk army, and you kill off most of them, and clean them out. So why are they such a threat?
I know where Jay's going, or where Jay's going.
I mean,
yeah,
I played dozens of games into this army, so yes.
Correct. So there's really two factors here that can make that a little more difficult.
Right.
First one is we actually have two things. One is the jack. The heavy jack themselves have shields. One of the things the shield gives you is girded. So any model that's in base to base with said heavy will have blast resistance. Just standing there.
Yep.
Okay, I learned that. I did not know that.
Correct. Also, the Necrofactorum has girded. So the big 80 mil model that we can bring into this list, you can put Mechanothralls in base to base with it, and you also get blast resistance. You don't have to worry about racking a spell. You can just leave Destamine at home. Don't even worry about it. And then the second half of this is we've got the initiates. So the initiates are our support units, right?
Yep.
So the Necrosurgeon initiates. They really have two things that they do. One, they empower jacks, and two, they've got grim returns.
And they're 4 points.
So 3 models.
Yeah.
That are Def 14, Arm 12, 1 box, so quite squishy.
Yep.
Have the ability, and you can change it up every turn. You can have one model empower 1 jack, and another model in the units. Grim returns a model back. And when you're coming in turn 1, turn 2, and you're losing Mechanothralls because they're shield guarding and taking the shots, you've got the initiates there to bring them back.
Yep.
So what does that mean for the opponent? If you're going against Cryx, you have to completely destroy a unit. So if you're going to be shooting at anywhere near a unit of thralls, you have to be fairly confident you can wipe them out. That's the only way you can stop them from recurring.
Yeah, it's like basically always a mistake to go in even with a little uncertainty that you're going to leave one alive. Like,
and
if you've got 6 shots and you're trying to kill 5 guys, like, just don't even bother.
And
like,
the even crazier thing about their Grim Returns is their Grim Returns is an action and not a spell. So if you have any ways to stop spells around the area or anything like that, you can't stop them from recurring.
That's correct. For whatever reason, certain models in this game, it's a spell, but for these girls,
it's an action.
Yeah, only their empower is a magic ability.
It's because they're like building them, right? Like,
they're
just like looking around the battlefield and like putting the pieces
physically
back together,
creating these things back up.
And on top of all of that, if you don't want to do Empower Jack, you can also repair undead models D3+1 for each one in the army, each one in the unit. They're such a good unit for 4 points.
It's just undead, but they can
an undead friendly faction model, which is everything but the constructs and the new Cadre stuff.
Correct.
It feels like they've learned a little bit how to make support exciting.
Yep.
Right? Like, 'cause they actually do something, and you're not like, it's not like, ugh, I got to take these guys to fuel my jacks. You're like, you're pretty excited about a bunch of the things that they do.
Right.
Absolutely. And like, Orgoth was my first Mark IV faction, so like their empower units can, do Dark Shroud on themselves.
But they have to be close to affect the enemy because it has to be in their melee and their attack spell really doesn't do anything.
Correct. And that's a special action, so if they're charging something, they can't actually turn it on.
Right.
It's problematic, 100%.
Extremely.
And the Necrosurgeon initiates are money, in my opinion.
I agree.
I pretty much don't leave home without 2 units for the most part.
I was going to say 2. 2 seems like the right number.
Yeah, the Mortembra list that I'm bringing these days, which does bring 4 heavies and 2 lights, actually has 3 units, and they definitely get their money's worth at the end of a game.
That's
and
crazy.
It's also not. It's like, it's such a trap because you like try to shoot at a heavy.
Yep.
It gets shield guarded. If you don't know about it, it's gonna get shield guarded.
Right.
All of a sudden you got to deal with vengeance, and you're just and these things, like, when they get delivered, they can be super accurate and super high pow, and just like,
and even
really
not.
trade
I mean,
up.
just 10 match 7 POW 12s are gonna kill any infantry model in the game. There's no solo. There's no outside of a dedicated heavy. There's 10 of those attacks are pretty much going to kill you, unless you've got a feats level ability that's really making it very, very difficult to hit. Outside of that, it's definitely something that can do some work. And I mean, with tough, they get knocked down, and it's easy enough just to pop your card and put out the fires, and now that unit's no longer knocked down, and they're vengeancing up and charging whatever you need to.
Dirty! I didn't even think about put out the fires. Hate that.
It's quite good. Again,
do
it's
you
just
often
another
bring
reason.
put out the fires for that reason, JD?
Absolutely, and it's definitely one of the most actual used cards that I use almost every single game, because usually there's a few of them that are knocked down turn 2-ish, and basically I'm using that to just get them in to start doing some work. But I mean, those are the things right now that the faction really, really excites me about. I'll just bring up one other unit real fast before we kind of get into the new stuff, and that's Sludge Thralls.
Yeah, I was gonna bring them up here in a second. So
Sludge Thralls are
frustrating,
absolutely incredible. Again, I've been playing Cryx since Mark 1, so I remember what Bile Thralls were like back in the day. And if anybody remembers,
can I tell my Bile Thrall story?
Sure.
Okay, so when I first played Warmachine, I picked up Cryx, and I'd never played a game before, but my local group was having a tournament, so I was like, so my buddy's like, you got to get in, so I was like, okay, I'm doing this.
Well, so real quick, when was this? Was this Mark 1? Was this Mark 2?
2011?
Okay.
Mark 2,
so
for
Mark
sure.
2. Okay.
Early in Mark 2.
Yep.
I picked up a battle box, and I've got Denegra, and I bought Blackjack, Deathjack,
Yep.
and a Bloat Thrall, and a unit of Bile Thralls. And I've never
Nice.
played this game before, and I'm in my first 35-point game. And my opponent also has never really played before either, right? We're just very new. Neither one of us know what these things are going to do. And so he's not shooting my Bile Thralls. And I don't know that they're really good, so they're just kind of derping around. And then I remember moving one forward and exploding it, and then measuring this pie plate, and I took out half his army. It was
6
insane.
inches. It was a
wild.
6-inch semicircle of
Mhm.
death that auto hit. Yeah, it was incredible.
And
So
they're
so
back.
now we got essentially a very similar-ish kind of unit. It's a 3-man unit. They're definitely are more of a medium infantry instead of a light infantry because they got better armor and 8 wounds.
Yep.
But they now have a really good cannon instead of being range 8 or 6. This thing's range 10,
right? Yeah.
They threat 16.
Correct.
Oh, it's more than 16, right?
Well,
it's
we'll get
18-ish.
Yeah, 18-ish. Yeah.
Because it's a unit. The one model walks 5.
You place the other ones
threatens
forward.
15.
Yeah. It's like
And
19 and a
it's
half
medium-sized
total
plate.
for the front 2 guys.
Yeah. So, it's the front 2 guys have that ability, and this thing's spray 10, so it has all the bonuses that sprays give you these days, and it's POW 14,
which is insane.
And yep, they still actually come with a decent melee attack, which old Bile Thralls did not have at all.
Yep.
So this thing actually still has a POW 12, a crit shred for funsies, and yeah, I mean, by far the best part about them is when they die, they explode. So whenever they are destroyed, everybody within 2 inches take a POW 12 corrosion damage roll. So yeah,
brutal.
and it's correct. And I will say that particular mechanic actually exists a few other places in faction, because that is by far the best tool that we have for taking out a more of a swarm kind of army, right? So if I'm going against 20, 30, 40 dudes, thinking Winter Guard these days, thinking,
Brines?
maybe even
some Brines?
Yeah,
Brines.
yeah, exactly. These are the kind of things that you're going to want on the table to be able to help deal with that. So 2 other units that have that ability are the Corpse Crawler with the Necro Harvester. So essentially, Necro Harvester itself is actually kind of a bad model. I would personally argue. But because this thing is basically just generating exploding guys that do this POW 12 explosion constantly, it's kind of a huge help. And then the last model that has that ability is the Light, which is the Raptor. If you give it the
Raptor
Necro,
has it?
Instead of giving it an arc node, it's one of the back items.
So the back item for Necrovent gives it 2 abilities. One, it explodes when it dies. It's the exact same thing. Within 2 inches, take about 12. And then the second thing is it's just walking concealment. And if you are a living model that doesn't have corrosion resistance, you suffer -2 to hit this thing.
Yeah. Which is
haven't really
crazy
talked
for
about the Raptor at all.
Defense 14 Jack. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Defense 14 Jack would dodge.
Right.
So again, you're talking to an old school Cryx player.
It's so bad.
There was only one reason to bring Chicken Jacks, and that's for an arc node. These things just die to a stiff breeze. Not so much anymore. These things actually have more boxes, can take more damage. The grid is a million times better now. You pretty much have to totally kill it to actually start disabling it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It actually has four cortex, 4 head, 4 movement boxes. Unlike most things in this game that only have 3.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's got dodge. So the fact that this thing can essentially be a def 16, just standing out in the middle of the open. If you miss it, I can just dodge away or dodge it into you, and now I'm engaging something, and my defense goes up to 20 because now I'm engaging something and trying to shoot at me. These things can get a little nutty.
Yeah, the thing that blows my mind about Acid Blast, and it's becoming more common as we go into Mark IV armies, but it's not even like a blast. so there's no blast resistance to it.
Correct.
And it's just everything within 2 inches. So it's not like the 2 closest models within 2 inches like it would be for a blast. It's everything within 2 inches take the PAL 12 and is corroded. That is so backbreaking in so many ways. It's hurt me in so many games.
One thing to look for when you're playing against these guys is it's everything. So it's their models too.
Yeah.
It kills the hell out of Mechanothralls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say it's a bit of a learning curve to play Mechanothralls around them because you want to be within 3 for shield guard, but not within 2 for getting exploded upon. So that's a mistake you make the first couple of games, but then you start learning how to properly play that. That is true. Yeah. But those are kind of like the big things right now that's
really grab your attention.
Correct. It's definitely a lot of fun. And that's really honestly with any of the 4 main casters. We kind of touched on Subsera, but Decithus can be a blast if your opponent at least brings a bunch of souls, which thank you, Joe, for playing a living army. I love playing Decithus into all your trolls.
I just put my entire army within 6 inches of Malzabaga, and I lose, but at least you don't get any souls.
It's true. It's very true. But yeah, no, the first 4 casters are kind of a blast with all these things.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to know when. Okay, so the Furies are your character unit, and they're like pretty expensive.
Yes.
And they don't necessarily have a ton of offense. So I want to know, like, when do they make the cut? When don't they make the cut? Like, what's good about the Furies? They don't seem like they're an auto include. I mean, what's your opinion of these guys?
It really just comes down to how much value can you get out of Power of Death. Power of Death reads, well, within 10 inches of this model, friendly undead models gain +2 to their melee attack damage rolls. So it's the number of undead models you bring. You're planning on bringing a bunch of jacks, there's pretty much no point to spend 10 whole points on these 3 models.
Okay.
But if you're bringing...
Not even for Mortal Fear?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
The truth is, let's just say I'm bringing a normal malefactor with shield, right? So he's armed 20. Is armed 20 going to keep him alive?
Probably not.
Possibly, but
maybe
if you can kill an armed 20, your chances are you're probably going to be able to kill it if it's armed 22. And this is also assuming that the thing coming in is living, because Mortal Fear only affects living models. So if jacks are coming into you, undead models are coming into you, anything like that, constructs of any kinds are coming into you, then you're not getting any kind of value whatsoever. And in the end, Mortal Fear is kind of a short range. Range 8 is kind of difficult. Now, these guys can be fairly defensive, simply being F14 on 14, 8 boxes, and they're always incorporeal. So there's literally nothing. Actually, that's not true. They do have a melee attack. So if they do make a melee attack with their claws, then they do stop being incorporeal. But for the most part, they're hanging around, being incorporeal, and all of that. So it's really just coming down to, can you get enough value out of Power Death? Stygian Abyss is all right as a nuke, but it's just a PAL 12 nuke. You have to crit to be able to blind something, which is not really...
It's fine. You don't pay 10 points for it, right?
No, absolutely not. On 3 models, yeah, absolutely not. So
are they in any of your lists right now?
Absolutely. My Sub-Zero list has them, and really they kind of fit in wherever you need to. Night Terrors, absolutely love them. Mechanothrall Swarms, love them. Really all your solos love them too. Well, prior to the Cephalyx drop, there wasn't anything that was in the army besides the jacks that was not undead. That's pretty much the main thing that I take a look at. And if you are doing that, then 100% Furies. Because I will say this, I mean, you can technically play with 6 Mechanothrall Swarms, 7 if you bring Sub-Zero, because she feeds in that 7th unit. But try playing with that many models in an hour. I'm not good enough and fast enough to be able to play that. So that definitely kind of gets me up there. So I'm definitely looking to maximize the number of models I have, and not, or sorry, maximize the quality of the models I have, and less about the quantity. Um, Kind of a personal play style, but that's kind of my opinion.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I don't
Yeah,
like the skews that much, like in general, but I could see it being
that's
really
fair.
scary. I mean, I'm sure it has matchups that just rolls over, you know?
I wouldn't necessarily say rollover, because again, I mean, the main problem here is that a lot of this stuff can technically get shot off the board. If you bring enough gunshots, you're there aren't enough tough rolls in this game that are going to matter. And there are still plenty of factions out there that can out-threaten most of your lists. Uh, yeah, so that's always kind of there. But being able to stack all these kind of buffs and abilities, you pretty much always have a game, no matter who you're playing against.
Yep.
You know what you said there makes me think a little bit. I don't feel like Cryx is really a threat range faction. Like,
Not
I don't
really.
think
I
of them
will
as a
say,
faction that's really like projecting a bunch of force like Chimera is. But what do you think about that?
no, that's true. I mean, when you compare them to something like Chimera, no. Chimera is going to out-threaten these guys 10 times out of 10. Uh, but I will say, with the new Mortembra, being able to
Oh
get
yeah,
your jacks to threaten 13 inches, um,
it's a
and
magical number in Merc 4.
essentially have three models that are tricky to deal with things like admonition on one model, occultation on another model, and enliven on the third model. It can make it very difficult to kind of interact with. Once something like Chimera is coming back in, they're gonna have to kind of play around a lot of that. So, well, maybe not so much occultation. They have plenty of eye of sight, but in those kind of situations, you probably bring something like Death Ward on a Jack instead,
Yeah,
so that you can choose. It's much more difficult to take out things like their shields and whatnot.
Yeah, and then
tell me
synergy
more
sitting there
about
in the background.
Mortembra, JD.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of it. Right now, Mortembra is definitely the one I'm most interested in. Do you
Okay.
want me to talk about her a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. She's the
Yeah,
new
Um,
hotness. Well, one of them.
yeah.
I was
So
about to say
JD and I are
it's
playing in the null this week, and
we are.
so I'm very interested in his Mortembra opinion. Um,
So
gonna
funny
gather a little
enough,
tech.
I've only played 2 games with her so far. Both games that were into trolls, and my third game
What?
now with Joe is also into trolls. So, um,
Oh
the
man.
the the matchup can, yeah, I've definitely seen kind of where it goes. Um,
Oh dear.
but I was kind of talking to Jay about this earlier. I mean, she's got a lot of really cool stuff. Having synergy is really neat. Not something Cryx has ever had before. Um, being able to just bring back a jack from when it's destroyed as a feat is, crazy amount of value at times. I mean, we got two 16-point jacks, character jacks, so you can just bring back if they die. Um, it's all kind of neat and interesting. But by far, like, above all else, the best thing about her entire rule set is resourceful.
Oh.
Being able to put out 4 upkeeps and still sit on 7 focus, turn up to turn up to turn to do whatever else you
For
want to.
for those that don't know, resourceful is this model can upkeep spells on models in its battle group without spending focus or fury points,
Yep.
which is
So
amazing.
as long as you're bringing, a bunch of jacks, that's kind of where you're at. So, like I said, in the situation I talked about before, having occultation out there on one jack, having admonition on another jack, synergies and upkeep, so it's on her, and then usually you've got the fourth. Usually, the fourth upkeep for me is going to be something like Scything Touch,
Yep.
either Scything Touch or Death's Ward, one of those two things, just to kind of splash in what you need to do. So you can have those 4 upkeeps on your battle group, and literally not pay anything again. It's absolutely incredible. And I think definitely one of the best things that's on it. The other big thing is, kind of touched on it, is synergy. So actually having synergy factions interesting, because usually a lot of synergy casters and other factions want light jacks that have multiple attacks
Yep.
to be able to build up that synergy.
Dervish
And
just being like the old
yeah,
example, right?
right. I mean, dervishes were just money
Yep.
back in Menoth days with synergy.
Absolutely.
We don't really have that because our chicken jacks only ever have one melee attack, and they start at mat 5. So it's not great. But currently, what I'm playing with right now is essentially 4 heavy malefactors, all with
Mhm.
harpoons and hell drivers. Um,
Tell me
which
what the Hell
is
Driver is. I don't think
so
I
the
know that
hell
one.
driver. So the hell driver is the right hand. It's what the Reaper used to have. If you ever played old Cryx,
Oh,
it was that arm that had like the pointy bit, and essentially it's a POW 16 range 2 sustained attack. That's
nice.
that's the weapon. What it
So
does.
effectively, you're playing 4 Reapers because you have a
Reapers. Yeah,
It's
because your
awesome.
other arm is a harpoon, which is the other arm of the Reaper. But then
but
you
it's
get
4 better Reapers
yeah,
because
and then you
old
get a head on
harpoons.
top of it. So
Yeah, well, I will say I'm taking the cheap head, soul claiming it does nothing except the fact that it does give you a free POW 12 range 1 melee attack.
yeah,
But old Reapers, old harpoons were range 8 POW 12s. These
yeah.
things are range 10 POW 14s.
Oh wow. Okay.
So with, and I mean, talked about the last spell on Mortembra's list, which is mobility, which is just nutso. It's +2 speed and Pathfinder for your entire battle group.
It's a
So
old
these
Harkovich
these things
spell.
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we walk 8 inches with these guys, and we can shoot 10 inches past. So it's an 18-inch uh, drag fest that you can do
Oh
with
man.
4 different models. You know, I bring in
Lots of
3 units.
angles.
Yeah, 3 units of initiates, being able to fully power them. I'll say this: I mean, the last game I played, there was a turn 2 or 3 where 3 of my heavies were outside of my control range. I will say Morton Evers she's only a 12-inch control, so it's a little difficult to keep things fully in control. But when you got 3 units of initiates, it doesn't matter. These
Anything's
initiates are walking up
possible.
fully fueling these things, and they're still doing exactly what they need to do.
Wow.
Um,
It's the advantage of
yeah,
Warmachine over Hordes for sure,
oh, for sure.
especially in Mark IV.
And
Yeah.
especially in Mark IV. Remember back when it was just solos that gave out in power,
Yeah,
and usually you only have 2 of them.
yeah. Signer felt awesome because you had like 3 or 4. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That was an interesting time.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, that's kind of the new thing I'm playing around with right now. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Again, I've only played 2 games,
Hmm.
and they've all been into Troll Bloods, unfortunately. So I'm hoping to get a little bit more experience and kind of see. Maybe at some point I'm gonna splash in one of the character heavies. Thinking Grindle right now, but we'll kind of have to wait and see.
I feel like
But
Grendel seems awesome for this list because it like
I think so too.
it's totally out being on. It's happy to be on a limb. It can kill a
Yep.
bunch of stuff, play a
Yep.
flank, and then if it gets in too deep, it dies, and you just resurrect it where you want it to be. Like
Yep. And I mean the thing has extended control range, which is great.
Yeah.
Again, you're dealing with a
yeah.
control 12 caster, so being able to literally throw it out there, do whatever. The thing hits like a truck. I mean, if you put something like Scything Touch on it, there's pretty much nothing in the game that it can't one round. Like Colossal
Oh
just
yeah,
died to it.
And
it's
with
so hard.
synergy on top, I mean, just
Correct.
POW
Yeah.
POW
I mean,
21s. Ugh.
yeah, it'll be POW
21
21s
weapon
with finishers.
masters. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
good.
it definitely seems good. I think I'll play around with that. This time I just kind of wanted to see what it was going to be like if I just like went all in on all harpoons.
Harpoons. Okay.
I didn't even talk about. I mean, the fact that harpoons now actually have a melee attack. So each one of
Hmm.
these heavies have 4 initials, um, 1 ranged and three melee, and you're able to use all 4 attacks before even going into buy. So this thing essentially can get up to 7 attacks every single round.
And as a chassis, it runs and charges for free, so you're not spending an extra focus. So
Right.
you're getting all 3 of the extra unless you're boosting the attack or damage rolls.
Correct. And again, these things have breakthrough, so you're just able to like just walk out of combat and get to wherever you want. I will say I typically bring Ghost Walk in a lot of my lists. I don't do it so much with Mortembra right now, but Ghost Walk when you've got a heavy with breakthrough means he can just walk through your units and get to your caster. There's nothing you can do about it.
It's a thing like as a player you got to like be thinking about when you look at the table, right? Like
Correct.
it may not be obvious that it's a matchup thing you want, but like the terrain may mean like, oh wow, this is gonna just be backbreaking. I gotta have this, you know.
Pretty much. So yeah, I mean
Oh
it's
man, and it's the same cost as um the Cephalyx shield version.
Yep.
God.
12 points.
So you can just drop them in and out and switch them in and out if you decide you need to have, you just drop one and then put the if you need to have one of them that has what's it called, grievous wounds.
Shield? Yeah.
Yeah, if you need to have a grievous, you feel like you need to have a grievous wounds option hanging out in there, so you just drop one out and put the other one back in. God.
Yep.
I'm so jealous of your heavy jacks.
It's incredible actually having just like a really, really good heavy jack.
Yep.
Because I mean, for the most part, the old Cryx jack, like I said, heavy jacks were kind of, they may have been okay at certain points, but for the most part, they lived in bad, in the bad category. You only took them when you had to take them, or you just
like Mark II Cryx was a ton about like, you know, two arc nodes and you're done, right?
Pretty much. It was definitely a Warma Hordes kind of feel. Now these heavies are absolutely incredible, and they're a blast. They're fun to play. You actually get a chance to not just initially die. They're Def 13, Arm 18. They used to be Arm 17 forever.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're Arm 18 now is just gravy. Yeah, no, I mean, Necrofactorum is an absolute blast, and I think if there was one complaint I have, and 100% just comes down to list building, the cheapest solo in the entire faction is 3 points,
Mm-hmm.
and there's only one of them, and that's the Scarlet Lieutenant. Every other solo is 4+.
Well, there's one new one.
So it's really hard to tweak your lists to end
You're
up on the nodes, right? Like
exactly, it is very, very difficult to get to like exactly 100 points.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely not something I was used to. I was very much so used to having like 1 point solos in old Cryx, but the new Cryx is definitely a lot more expensive. Can't really complain. They're definitely worth the points. Almost every single model that you get these days is definitely worth the points. But yeah, that's probably the only real drawback that I personally have.
Mm-hmm.
What do they struggle with, JD? What do you worry about when you're playing? Or is it anything? Like what are hard situations for you?
Obviously, decent gun lines. I mean, any list that had Big Pig in it can be difficult because things like Big Pig and really long, really good range attacks have the ability of deleting whole units of swarm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So those are going to be problematic. And then once you actually get through all the shield guards, then you're able to get to the actual meaty pieces. Things that do have extreme threat will be in a much better place when it comes to this kind of matchup.
Okay.
For the most part, like a Sub-Zero list, your entire army, outside of the cavalry, which you are probably taking, which threat 13, everything else is 11 or less. It's 10 or 11 inches, like period, across the board, and everything is going to be melee centric. You do have a couple spells that are decent, but for the most part, outside of your sledge straws, which can throw out some decent sprays, you're going to wind up taking the alpha, one way, shape, or form. So a lot of times when I'm building my list, I'm definitely looking at what can I throw out there to, put something on scenario presence, and I'd be okay to get rid of. Like I'm a big fan of this Necrovent.
Yeah, the Necrovent Raptor is a good option for that.
Exactly, because I can throw it up there, I can contest, I can score. I can kind of do what I need to, and when it dies, it'll be fine. Because I need it to die before the rest of my army can get there.
And if the opponent has to do it up close, then it's paying you back for doing it, and so they have to get rid of it to score, but then they have to do it from range usually, and it could be tough. So yeah.
You're using scenario to like try to set up peace trades and force pressure.
Yep.
Because you don't necessarily always take the initiative. Not a lot of really long range high power shooting.
No.
Not a lot of extreme threat ranges. Some of your casters do good on that, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's probably the reason why Cephalyx is at the top of the list. Simply because her feated unit of mechanical thralls, I think it's threatened 19 inches.
Yep.
From her.
I think it might be even more. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Very scary.
It's a lot. So yeah, being able to throw out that unit, but again, that's a single unit. That's a feated unit. That's a once per game unit. So that's really the only option that we have that can kind of give us that capability. I will touch on her a little bit, but the other new caster, which I haven't really talked about, which is Keithos.
Oh
yeah. He has a pretty dang good feat.
Yeah.
And I will say, when you take a look at the list that went to Bulk Crew Brawl this past week, most of the Cryx casters brought him. And it's pretty obvious why. I mean, being able to have essentially -3 to attack rolls, which is essentially +3 defense to your own models, in a faction that has decent defense, can be pretty nutso. And the fact that they then get to be placed within 3 inches when you do miss them can make it even more neat.
And he has a control 16.
Correct. And yeah. So it's definitely one of those kind of denial feat casters, which is kind of old school.
It just feels
really.
I mean,
it delivers your army.
Yeah, not to shit on them too much or whatever, but it just feels bad to play against it unless you're ready for it. It just is it just is you're not doing anything for your next turn. Have fun.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest with you, my main complaint, if I were to make any complaints, is the fact that we've seen this feat before, and this feat already really exists. You got Zadaroth and the Infernals. Zadaroth and Infernals basically has the exact same feat. I think it's +3 defense instead of -3 to attack on the unit. But the place mechanic is the exact same. And it's very, very similar to that. Which can be very, very difficult to play into, especially you're concerned about trying to like win on scenario. You could be problematic. This is definitely not a caster you want to bring to a friendly game.
Unless your opponent is ready for that. Yeah.
Again, there were a lot of Cephalyx and Keithos pairings at Broker Brawl this weekend, and that did not surprise me much. The Cephalyx edition, I'm a huge fan. I will say another one of my complaints for the longest time was the fact that we didn't have a Warcaster attachment. And now we do. It's a 3-point Warcaster attachment that has Spell Slave and Arcane Assist. So being able to
perfect. Those are the two best things.
Yeah, exactly. Those two things in a faction that has something like Ghost Walk, being able to just throw out a free Ghost Walk is money 9 times out of 10, and getting your free upkeep is just phenomenal 9 times out of 10. Getting those two things, I think, really help this faction, at least on the competitive side of things. Local friendly games, I probably would leave Keithos home.
Yeah.
Got deadweight too, right?
Oh yeah. Which I'm not gonna lie, I have never been able to get deadweight. Like I've played games with other casters that had deadweight, and it's just like, all right, do I have a situation where I can deadweight something really juicy? Nope.
Mostly it makes your opponent play really hard. But man, if they mess up, oof,
I don't even know. If people just don't like play it like that, and maybe it's just the games I played, but like nobody keeps like an easy to kill model with that close to one of their like heavies or colossals, and it's like I guess
Yeah, I mean, you usually got to go deep, right? It's like the
you do
beast handler behind their colossal.
correct.
I'm like, yeah, it's
And
not an easy model to get to, but
this is a faction that has cheap arc nodes, so it's 100% doable. And if I get a chance to probably get more games, it'd be something I'm hoping to see more on, but we'll have to kind of
yeah,
wait and see.
when it comes up, it's really good.
It's true.
But
It's
I
true.
agree, it's not something you see every game, I think.
No, but yeah,
Man, I want to play
that's
some
kind of my own.
Kythers.
What was that?
I want to try that. I want to play against that a little bit. I haven't seen that one yet, so
Oh no, okay.
Yeah.
I played one game a couple weeks ago, so I haven't had a chance to really put a second one down. But we'll have to get a game together.
okay, I'm in.
I think this the whole cadre is pretty strong and interesting. Definitely
Yep.
adds some stuff that wasn't there. I mean, it's a bunch of living stuff in the mostly undead army. So,
Yep.
and excitingly for those with the legacy Cephalyx army, at the end of June they're going to be Their SFG is currently looking at the old legacy Cephalyx army and updating it. That's something else that came out of the AMA. They're updating and tweaking it, and then adding this cadre into it. So you're gonna have this year you're gonna have what one character unit, a character beast, two character solos, a new
80
warcaster,
mil.
and then a journeyman warlock and
Yep.
80mm base monstrosity
Oh, wow.
in August for Cephalyx.
Okay, so they're really bringing it back.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you sign up for their subscription now, you basically get that journeyman and 80 mil for free. So
yeah, at Adepticon, and we didn't really talk about Adepticon that much. We had things come up and personal life stuff get in the way. But if you sign up for the year subscription, which in US dollars is $2 cheaper than paying for it month by month, you get a free one of the Journeyman Warlock and 80mm base monstrosity when it comes out in August around Gen Con time. And they said in the AMA they're basically going to just give the people that have paid the subscription in August when it comes out a code, and you're basically just going to go on their website, put the code in, and it'll send it to you free shipping, everything.
Yep.
Which is a pretty good deal. And then
it's an incredible deal.
Yeah. And then
I think it's an incredible deal.
Yeah. And then also on top of that, the way you get this cadre is through their new it's part of the welcome pack for their new STL program. And they are going to be making them starting at the end of May available to order directly from SFG if you don't have access to a 3D printer or a friend that has one. And then now they're actually releasing the old Cephalyx army month by month. The first this month in May is the monstrosities, but they're going to start releasing it part by part as something that you can print with if you have a 3D printer yourself, which is the first army that's like that.
Which is really neat
for
a legacy army like that. Being able to just kind of have easy access. Because a lot of times it's not necessarily about spending the money, but just trying to find access to these models. I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers what it was like when Mark IV first started, but Cephalyx was kind of the new hotness, not new hot, but the hotness.
The hotness, yeah.
Because everybody kind of the rules and everything about them was really, really good at the time with the steamroller pack that we had. So like the premiums on these models on like eBay were insane.
Yep. Even for converted ones.
Yeah, but I mean, just like getting an unmade monstrosity box was like what $80 on eBay, I think, at one point.
Yeah. Crazy.
Wild, yeah, I completely agree. So being able to have access to these models relatively free, is pretty incredible.
Agreed.
I have no doubt the people on if you don't actually have access to one, but you can probably get a hold of people on Etsy or anything like that can do the 3D printing and basically pay them to be able to print that stuff for you. Luckily, we have somebody here in local that did it for us.
Yeah. And it's to sign up and be able to get access to those army models, it's $10 a month. And in addition to that, you also get all of the you get an alternate caster and a bunch of terrain and stuff for whatever the current active month army that is. So right now you're getting stuff for Gravediggers. Casters and terrain stuff for Gravediggers. But starting, I think, in July, you're going to start getting stuff for Old Umbry.
Yeah, that'll be sick. I'm looking forward to you painting that kind of stuff.
Oh, I'm looking forward to like the Old Umbry, like the stones and the rocks and the buildings and stuff they're going to have. I definitely going to get a bunch of that stuff printed.
Yep, absolutely.
Are you going to do the studio scheme?
For me? No, not exactly. I'm doing red and purple cloths, and then some brown and gray leathers, and like a blighted gold, sort of burnished, corroded gold color.
Gold, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
And green flame instead of white. Green magic fire instead of white.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, man.
I've got my trial figure sitting in front of me. That's it's.
I forgot.
It needs highlight still, but it's been base coated and shaded, and I tweaked the scheme a little bit after looking at a couple of other people's models on Facebook. So yeah,
mine's just sitting in my closet, waiting to get painted.
Yep,
It'll still be there in a couple months.
Yeah, it's interesting because like this isn't. We thought that this might be the model, but this is actually an alt model, and there's a different pose where like the caster has the birds are like flying instead of being sort of sitting on him or flying out ahead of him, and his staff is out and he's like shooting the magic out of his staff, which I think almost looks better than this pose. So
and the
we'll
alt
see.
pose.
Oh. Yeah, that's the version of him that's going to be in the command cadre.
Nice.
Yep. Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So, is there anything else in Cryx you think you want to talk about? You want to talk about any of the other solos or the character monstrosity or anything like that from the cadre?
Probably really the only one that I think I want to talk about primarily is going to be the Iron Lich Commander.
Okay.
Don't leave home without it. Literally every list has one.
Yeah.
It's 4 points, so it's a little bit more expensive, but it's got really 3 things going for it. One, it's got Darkest Nights, I forget.
Invocation of Bitterest Night.
Yeah. Which essentially just gives him and anybody base to base with him stealth. So being able to just stealth up casters,
is very frustrating.
Heavies, back unit models, whatever you kind of need to, can be quite good.
Okay.
Yeah. The second ability is he can get souls. So he gets souls within 10 inches of him whenever enemy living models die. And you essentially get knowledge of the damned with those souls, which is models can reroll within 10 inches of it. Yeah, it's friendly, that's enemy.
It's basically the Grave Ghoul from Grimkin. Does it with corpses.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very strong.
This thing's it's a little bit more difficult to get because you have to kill the enemy models. The enemy models have to have souls. Have to be within 10 inches of this model when it dies. So it's not something that you're going to rely on starting turn 1. But when it does start happening, it is very, very strong and very, very good. And really the last thing is it comes with Hex Blast.
Which is phenomenal.
Phenomenal. So unlike the Furies, which their nuke is just like, crit blinds, this thing has an AoE nuke that just removes upkeeps and animi on a direct hit. So let's just say you've got a Troll Blood Colossal, and he's got Fortify on him, because who would do that? And then this thing has the ability to walk up 5 inches. It's got Pathfinder for reasons. And shoot out a Hex Blast 10 inches from it, and remove that plus any animi that I happen to have, be it.
Or you got Enliven hanging out on that Rogger that you want to be able to run away with, or move back with if it gets shot, or push up so that it can leap and jump up. Yep, just Hex Blast, and there you go. It's no more Enliven.
Such reckless hate.
It's real good.
It is.
Honestly, again, there's not a single list that I play that doesn't bring one.
Right.
I really personally bring one. I think one's enough, but it is great money every game that I play.
I've seen you with 2 before. Have you stopped playing with 2 and just gone back to 1 now? Especially now that there's like the Cephalyx stuff to mix in.
Yeah, pretty much. And especially with the new Steamroller packet, where solos don't really help score things in particular. Outside of like scenario flags, there's no more solo scenarios things. So you're not too concerned about bringing solos, and specifically the number of solos. But yeah, no, that was pretty much it. I do have one question for Joe though. So I'm bringing Morty. So which of your 2 lists do you think you're gonna have to drop?
Play Firequill. That's my Cryx.
100% the correct.
Who are you bringing? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Firequill is who I've been playing into Cryx. Yeah. Though Boggity Bomb has some interesting tools, I think. The army doesn't. The army you're bringing in particular doesn't have a ton of magic weapons.
It doesn't.
And so, like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have a ton. It has a decent number, and the one solo does have sigil power. So the Scarlet Lieutenant does have sigil power, so I can put it on a single unit a turn.
And you can Blessing of the Gods. So you do have some play, but
Did I bring Blessing? I guess I probably did in this list.
I assume you did. I don't know. I feel like everybody in their mom brings Blessing.
He doesn't. But... I mean, he doesn't usually need it, so he doesn't necessarily bring it.
I don't think I did.
Too hard to need Blessing. Love it.
Yeah. Nope. I don't have Blessing. So it is a good point, but I do know you like your POW 10, POW 12 blast.
Oh, for sure.
Which makes blast resistant pretty moot on a lot of the things in my army.
I think the reason I got so excited about Firequill was because I played Necrofactorum and got my butt kicked, and I was like, how do I deal with these Mechanothralls? And I was like, oh, I know. I'll just make my blast damage such high power that Death's Dominion doesn't even matter.
Does not matter. That's
it is successful for that.
That is an absolute fact. But we'll have to see kind of how it works into 4 heavies. I will say, I mean, those POW 12 blast are also POW 16. POW 16 to what? POW 20? Yeah, main guns. So yeah, it may hurt. It may hurt a little bit.
Yeah. Can I give my Cryx tech?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've talked about Cephalyx quite a bit. And one of the things that just absolutely can happen when you play against Cephalyx is you wander within 19 or 20 or whatever inches of her.
Yep.
And she just beats and drops a unit of Mechanothralls, and they absolutely kill your caster dead, even if you're on really high camp.
Yep.
Because they're hitting at Mat 9 effectively POW 16s. It's 10 Mat 9 POW 16 charging attacks.
Yep.
Yeah. I died to that a couple of times, even though I totally knew it was there. So my tech for surviving that is if you bring a spike trap, you can just sit your caster on the spike trap. And as long as you're a medium base, it's a real problem for them.
I mean, you're not moving anywhere. You're living at that one spot, but that is a fact.
There.
You're not that is your new home.
At least you've got one, right? You've got one place that you can always go when you get worried. And then once defeats, and then you just kind of wait out defeat, and when that's done, then you can move your Warcaster again.
But... And you hope you don't get paired against it in wolves.
Yep.
It's true. It's true.
You got to set it uncomfortably far forward then.
Yeah.
The spike trap is an interesting tech piece, though. I do like how you do that now.
Yeah, I pulled it off once. It was hilarious. My opponent feeded, and I should have warned him, but I was like, I was ready for the game to be over. And so he feeded, and he charged the first one in, and was like, okay, here's the POW 10. Yep.
Very nice.
Whoops.
Oopsies.
That's a mistake you make once.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
All right. So I think that was a good episode. I think we covered quite a bit about Necrofactorum and kinds of things you want to be playing with and what's common to see out there competitively. I mean, we didn't specifically talk about Deficus or Eviscerus or things like that, but pretty much all of your casters are good. I think the weakest caster you have is Suspira, and I don't think she's necessarily weak.
So weakest?
Yeah, is
Weakest?
not Suspira. Sorry, what's her
Do you
name?
mean Nicane?
Nicane, yeah, Nicane. I think the weakest one you have is Nicane, and she's not necessarily weak.
I agree, and there are plenty of people that are being very successful in the game.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm scared of Nicane, so. But I agree. They're all a lot of good casters in the stable.
Yep.
Which is nice. That's what you want to see in a faction, right?
Yep.
Exactly. A bunch of options, a bunch of valid options. So.
Yep.
No complaint.
And there's some stuff we didn't talk about, guys. We didn't really go specifically over like the character jacks or the
Night Terrors at all.
The Night Terrors, and those are things that are common and powerful and hit hard. But the character jacks just sort of stand on their own and are good. Like you can just expect to put them in. We talked about Cerebus a little bit and how he's good in. He's pretty much good with any jack caster. Sorry, not Cerebus. Grendel. Grendel is pretty much. And Hades likes to play with Nicane or anything where she can abuse his gun shooting in so you can see through the thing you're shooting at.
Yep.
As I learned, which is really unfortunate. And there's a bunch of other units and solos that are strong. A lot of them play off the Furies that we talked about a little bit. Like the Furies really help them work. And so, since JD is not necessarily focusing on playing super infantry heavy armies outside of Suspira, we don't necessarily see him play them as much. He has put everything on the table though, as far as I'm aware.
Yes.
I haven't seen you play the any of the new cadre stuff, but so that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago I brought them and basically just played them on the 2 games I played. So. Yeah, no, I've played with all the toys and all the tools, so it is fun. It is a lot of fun. I can't recommend it enough.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us and for episode 17. What's up?
No, I thank you both for having me on.
Thanks for coming on.
That was awesome. Thanks for doing this.
We've been talking about having you come on several times for a while, and we're glad that you were finally able to come on. And
4 or 5 months.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we were gonna start of the new year, go through all the different armies and rock the armies, and it just hasn't worked out that way, which is fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Next episode, I think, is going to be our 1-year anniversary episode, which should be interesting. It may be a little bit after, so Alec is in the process of moving, and so we may wait until he's settled in his new place. He's actually moving states, leaving our community and heading up north. But yeah,
Frigid Wasteland.
Yeah, so he's very slammed. It's unfortunate that he couldn't join us tonight. Hopefully, maybe we'll get him on one more before he leaves, but we'll see. And then Nova's right around the corner, and I'm sure we'll be talking about Nova in a bunch. We'll probably have JD on because they're planning to play in the team tournament, Joe and JD, and maybe me, maybe
and
Alec, and someone else, maybe Alec.
It could be you, listener.
Yep. Yeah, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just have to come, join our community and get a jersey.
Yep,
that's right.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for being here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. You can find us on the description below at our link tree. We'll send you to all our different groups and channels. Recently, we had a listener ask us some questions about Joe's frogs. On our Instagram. Thank you very much for doing that. I'm sorry I don't remember your name off the top of my head. I did promise you that there's more pictures coming soon, and Joe has some.
I need to take pictures.
We need some pictures of some of your new additions. I especially want the balloon, and which I know isn't 100% done, but is to a good
It's done
stop
as it's
to
gonna
a
be
good
for a
stopping
couple
point.
months.
Right.
So,
It's incredible.
And I'd love a picture of the Gator Warcaster attachment chick.
Oh, Moriarty? Yeah.
Moriarty. I think you
Gator
did,
Pokemon style.
I think you did a very sweet alternate paint scheme on her, and I'd love to put a picture of that up on the group. And I have some pictures coming from the stuff that I've been working on and being silent. So
Nice.
there will be more stuff coming up on Instagram soon. Hopefully we'll get some unboxing stuff as soon as the new Old Umbry stuff hits again. So thank you very much for listening to us, and this has been Jay.
I'm Joe.
I'm JD.
Thank you for tuning in, and see everybody later.